to sell you a T-shirt.
Yes, yeah. Actually, I read a few comments about that, and I don't know who's that guy who hacked your account, the other one, but that's what he's doing.
I know he's trying to sound like me because people are sending me messages where he's like, "Oi, cunt, it's really me." He's trying to use the cunt word and stuff to sound like me. I'm like, good try, but people can tell I don't talk that way, so it's pretty funny. He's still trying there because people keep sending me the messages, and I'm like, give up, mate. But the thing is, I've reported that now because my first account I got banned, and they deleted my whole account, so I started that second one, the official Lee Priest 11. That's the one that's been hacked. So now I have Lee Priest official 72. That's the one I got to build back up again. But I've reported it to Instagram probably 20 times. Everybody else has reported it, but Instagram leaves it up. I say one wrong word and get banned. So it's just crazy.
Literally one word, and you get banned and cancelled from every. So, Lee, first of all, if I look like I'm really, really fanboying, I'm so sorry about that. But honestly, this is just, it's so unreal. And I know that you always,
as long as you got your pants on, it's okay.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I do. But I know you always says that, you know, you're just a regular guy with the freaky muscle. But to be honest, that's not true. That's not true.
It is really. I know. Like I said, I was even just saying, I think on RX or some other thing I did other day, a podcast, I was saying that where it's embarrassing when I'm in public. Like, I understand people like to do it, but, you know, when people come up, "Oh, you're Lee Priest, I'm like, I'm just Lee. I'm just a guy that goes to the gym. I've never, you know, there are some out there, whether it be any sport or movie stars, for some reason, when people get a little bit of fame or a little bit of money, they think, you know, I'm above everybody else. And to me, I'm like, I've always hated people with egos. It's like, you know better than anybody else. Just because you're a famous actor or you're Elon Musk or you're somebody with multi-millions of dollars, you know better than the local plumber down the fucking road just because you got money or a different job, you know. To me, everyone's equal. So whether, you know, you're a professional athlete or you're just somebody that works a normal 9-to-5 job, we're all the same. But, you know, I understand that people, if you're in a sport, you might look up to somebody and stuff. But, you know, it's a nice thing. But it's, like I said, to me, it's sort of hard because I just see myself as Lee. I don't see myself as this person other people see. So sometimes it gets embarrassing when they start yelling out. You're like, oh, shit, now they're drawing attention to me. And then, you know, general public doesn't know. Some of the other people don't know who you are. They're like, who the fuck are they yelling at? It's like, that guy over there, fucking steroids.
But if you think about that, I think I was 14 when I bought my first VHS, and that was the Mr. Olympia.
That's going back.
It was Battle for the Olympia 2000. That's when I started. And then, of course, the Olympia, you know, the video and your whole posing routine and shit like that. And then the very first video I've ever seen of a bodybuilder, that was the 97 Hungarian Grand Prix. If you remember of that, yes. And I
got third in that one, didn't I? Her place.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Kevin won, and then Nasser, and I think it was you and.
Yeah.
And that was the very first video I've ever seen.
I think it was Dillett. I think Dillett was fourth, and then maybe Cormier and Coleman or someone. And...
Yes. Correct. So you do remember, do you?
Yeah, still a little bit. I remember some of that. I just remember the tour itself because it was a fun tour. Because we did like 7 shows in 9 days, like Hungary. And then we were in Prague and then Spain. And then we're like just traveling all over. And it was just fun with like Paul Dillett and Vince Taylor and Mike Matarazzo at the time. So it was a fun, even though it was hectic, it was just fun traveling with those guys. And we were pissing Nasser off because I think it was in Budapest, actually in Budapest, where Paul and I sent Nasser the chocolate cake and he started freaking out and yelling at the waiter and stuff. We're just laughing our heads off. And then when we got to Helsinki, Dillett and I and Vince Taylor found a Chinese restaurant. So we just started going to this Chinese restaurant and we said, you know, screw this food. We're just going to start eating. And the next show, I think I got third again and Dillett was fourth. And Milos was getting so mad because Milos was sort of eating clean and taking diuretics. And we're just eating Burger King and we're still beating him. So he was getting so mad at us because he's like, fucking hell.
You know, it's so funny that it's been, what, 21 years, actually. It's been 21 years. And, you know, I never thought that I'm going to have a chance to talk to you, obviously. And it's just so unreal. So I try to stay calm and all that stuff. You know, I was about to ask you lots of questions about bodybuilding.
Makes me feel old when you say 21 years ago, because Oh, it's funny. I like seeing some of those things. And like people will post the pictures and, well, you know, people do those like motivational little videos like Machiavelli and all them. I'm like, if people send them to me, they're like, oh, Lee, this is so great. It's so inspirational. I look at them and I go, fuck, I get depressed because I think, God, it's so long ago. Plus, too, there's a lot of videos I see where they could have Mike Matarazzo and NASA. You know, there's people that were your friends who have passed away now, or at Gold's Gym, you know, I was so close to Joe Gold and them, and he's passed away. So I look at these videos and I get sad. I'm like, oh, all my friends are dead. I'm like, oh, then you just start thinking too. I remember that show, and then like you said, you'll be like, fuck, that was 97. How long ago was that? It's always like, you know, I'm going to be 50 soon. I'm thinking, oh my God, I've been competing since I was 13 years old. Now I'm going to almost be 50.
Funny enough, you are actually not that a lot of older than me. I'm 37, so it's not that. Like,
hold on, no, probably when I was in my 30s and someone was 50, I'd be like, you're old. I remember when I was like 15, 16, my training partner was 40, and I thought he was the oldest guy ever. Then when I got to 40, I'm like, 40's not that old.
True. So, you know, I was about to ask you about bodybuilding and diet and training, but honestly, I feel like your personality way surpass a bodybuilding personality. I think Lee Priest is way more than a bodybuilder, and I almost feel like asking you about training and diet is almost like an insult. So I
don't mind. The only problem, I don't mind talking about bodybuilding and training, but it's always like I try to tell people, like you could ask me about training and dieting. And if you were to ask me, Loss, or any other person, we're all going to have little differences on what we do, whether it be more carbs, more protein, training. But I've always told people when it comes to bodybuilding, don't overthink it. Yes, we've got the internet now. And if you go on the internet, you can just bombard your mind, whether it be training programs, different types of diets. If you go onto the drug sites, you know, there's so many crazy, stupid things that people are doing with steroids in the crazy amounts, you know. When I did those videos with Tom Platz, and to this day, I've always said, you know, if I took Sustanon 250, I took 2 mils, which is probably 500 milligrams, if it's really 250, or if I use Cypionate, I took 400. Once I tried 800, I felt crap, so I stayed 400. And people go, oh, you're full of shit, there's too small. I said, that's what worked for me. If I did Dianabol, I never went over 30 milligrams a day. If I did Anadrol, you know, because they're so strong, they give you headaches, I'll take 1 a day. I had a friend that took 6 and he was urinating blood. And he's like, oh, is that? I'm like, if you're urinating blood, I think you've got a problem. So I've always stuck to small amounts because they work for me. And like when I hang out with the pros, like Paul Dillett lived with me for 8 months, I saw what Paul took getting ready for the 98 Olympia, but we never discussed steroids. Because to me, yes, in the sport we take them, but it's an individual thing. Like I said, I can get away with taking 400. You might need 6. You might only need 300. But young kids now go on the internet and they go, oh, look at this cycle. First cycle, I need 1,000 milligrams a test. I need 800 a trend. It's all bullshit. That's why I tell people, go as far as you can naturally. That, you know, try and build your body as far as you can naturally. Like me, up until I was 19, I was winning shows without it. I was still a lightweight competitor, which is under 75 kilos here. But once I'd won the national title 3 times, and now it's like, okay, I'm going pro. Yes, I've got great genetics, but now I'm going to compete against guys who also have great genetics, but who are also on gear. So to compete with them, you have to take it. But that's why I tell people, go as far as you can without it. And then if you do it, your first cycle, start small. Don't start at 1,000, because if you start at 1,000, next time they think, I've got to go 1,500, I've got to go 2,000. I've had people come to me when I've helped them, and they'll be on large amounts, and I cut them back. Like, well, this ain't going to work. I said, trust me. And they'll go on half the amount. They make the exact same gains. They feel better. They've got more money in their pocket because they're not wasting it on shit that don't need to be taken that much. So that's why I said the internet's just crazy when it comes to things. But, you know, back to the training and dieting, I've always said if you stick to the basics, you can't go wrong. Don't go getting fancy. If you're doing chest, you know, dumbbell presses, flat, incline, same with flies or machines. You know, people say, what's better, dumbbell here or barbell? What's better? It's like, nothing's better. Find what works for you. Maybe dumbbell incline is great for me, but you might go, I prefer flat, so do flat. You know, you've got to find what works for your body. Same with diets. I could give you a diet and say, look, this is what I eat. You might eat it and go, that's too many carbs for me, or this or that. So you just got to adjust it to what works for you. But if you stick to the basics and don't overthink it, you can't go wrong. But people try and complicate it so much. I'm like, we're fucking bodybuilders, you know. They say bodybuilders are dumb. Well, some of us are. I'm not a fucking scientist here, but and if you stick to the basics, and like I said, you can't go wrong. But young kids now are like, with the macros in this, and then I get this, I'm like, what? I said, you're making it too hard for yourself. They're just keep it basic. And that's all you should do.
Funny enough, you just mentioned Platz, and I've got a question about him. But to be honest, I've written down about 25 questions, but I'm probably just gonna dump it all and just have a conversation. So you mentioned Platz. You mentioned Platz, and I read a lot of articles about that when train together. But you know, we all know that everything was written down in the magazines. That was the truth. Well, that's what we thought. But what was the reality? Did you train with him? Did he train you? Were you training partners? Did he actually help you? Or it was just a nice, amazing photo shoot together? So what was the truth about you and Platz?
Me and Platz, no, we used to train together. We did like some photos, but no, we trained together a couple of times when I lived in California down at Redondo Beach Golds. That's where we became friends and that from the gym. But then I moved to Arizona, and so did Tom, and we lived in the same apartment building. So we would have breakfast in the morning and then go train every day. So, yeah, we trained together a lot. And, you know, I like training with Tom because Tom's like a down-to-earth guy. He's very friendly. He's just like, you know, you ask him a question, he doesn't bullshit. So he's like, you know, he's not doesn't have an ego. But yet his training is just like, you know, when you see those videos of him sort of being intense, that's how he is. Like, it's like, I used to always say, Tom, do a comeback. I said, do a comeback back then. He's like, oh no, he goes, if I do that, he goes, once I go to the gym, my mind turns on. And like I said, he wasn't training for anything when it's with me, but we'd be doing sets of 25s with 5 plates squatting. And then he'd be doing the negatives, the positives, where if you're doing leg extensions, you can't do any more. He'd give you a few forced ones and help you up. And then when you finish them, he'd make you hold the top. He'd start pushing down. You'd have to do them. You have to hold them halfway. So everything he did. The thing is, too, is Tom, he'll go to failure on pretty much anything. It's like, say you're doing side laterals. You know, you're doing laterals like this. Your shoulders burn. You get to here. Okay, that's enough. Now, Tom said he'll be going like this, here,
and then posture
reps. He'd be going until he just got to here. I mean, sometimes I'm waiting to do my set. I'm like, fuck, hurry up. This is like fucking 5 minutes later. Tom's still doing, like until it stops moving, he'll go. Same with calves. He'll be doing calves. He'll get the full stretch. They're burning probably 50 reps later. He'll be getting little ones. And then he's just doing this. He goes, Lee, grab my toes. Now I've got to grab his toes and pull his toes. And he's still going like this. I'm like, Jesus, Tom, this set's taking 10 minutes. But, you know, Tom would just go to failure on everything. I mean, once he got in that mindset and he was tunnel visioned, he was just crazy. So even in his older days. So
those workouts, you know, the way he actually trained. So those workouts weren't just for the camera. He actually trained like that.
Yeah, that's how he was. Once he got into that zone. But I actually like it because you watch some of his videos now, when you're hearing him talking and that sort of motivates you the way he's going, you got to feel the pain and squeeze it and, you know, the passion. And this is like, it sort of gets you motivated the way, and that's how he is. Like, he'll be like, when we're doing the extensions, he'll be like, Lee, give it everything you got. Fucking push it up, do this, do that. And I'm thinking, man, if I could punch you in the face right now, I fucking would, because
Do you actually think that it's necessary to train that hard? Have you ever?
Not all the time. Like I said, people. See, I wouldn't even go to failure all the time. To me, failure is like where you're halfway up and then you sort of get stuck and it just goes boom and crashes down on you. You know, I'd always go to the got really hard till I was struggling, but I never had a weight fall on me. You know, if you've got a training partner, you know in your mind when you can't do any more. You know, rather, I've had people where you could be benching, I'll be spotting somebody, and on his set, he'll be pushing it up. He's like struggling. I help him up like this, and I get it to the top. He goes, one more. And I'm like, oh, fucking hell, one more. Then you're doing an upright row. So in your mind, you know when your body's had enough, when to stop. So, yeah, but I'd always the best advice I can say is just listen to your body. Because if you bust your ass every day, you're going to probably get injured and stuff like that. Because, like, just say you're a young kid and you bench 3 plates and you have a good workout, you bench 3 plates, your chest is sore. Come next chest workout, you get to like 2.5, and today it feels heavy. You're like, oh, it's a bit heavy today. I did 3 last time, 2.5's heavy. I put another bit on, and you're struggling. But in your mind, you think, no, I did 3 last time. I've got to do 3 again. So you put 3 on and you get
That's
injured.
how you get injured. Yeah.
The best thing is just to listen to your body. I always just, if I feel strong, I add more weight. If I get to a certain weight, I'm like, well, today I just don't have it. I won't push it. You know, and also too, I might just do something in different order, because sometimes people like legs. The leg workout is they always start with squat, 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 squat. Maybe next time do extensions, then leg press, squat last. You know, pre-exhaust them. You know, you don't have to do it in the same set order, same as chest. You might start with dumbbell presses and then do flies, then do a machine, then do crossovers. Well, next time start with crossovers, do flies, do presses second. It's all going to work, but, you know, just keep changing the order in which you do the movements. You don't have to always do them in that same order, otherwise it gets boring and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, the best advice is just listen to your body. If you feel strong, go for it. Go as heavy as you can. If you're a little bit, it just doesn't feel right today, don't do it. It's the same as like people have like a chest day and a back day and a leg day. I'd always have that too. But then let's just say today's back day and I've got to meet you at the gym for back. And like, okay, it's back day. We get there and I'm like, I just don't feel like doing back today, you know, like the heavy barbell rows. And I'm thinking, look, I don't feel like doing it. If we do it, it's just going to be like going through the motions. It'll be a shit workout. So rather than not have a workout, okay, today could be back day, but I'm like, oh, fuck it. Let's go do shoulders. So just go do shoulders. Do something that, you know, there's no use doing a body part if you're not really mentally into it, you know, because if you're not into it mentally, you're just going through the motions and you're like having a shitty workout. Or if it's that bad and you really don't feel like training, have the day off. You know, if you really feel like I don't want to go to the gym, just go do cardio, go for a walk, and then just feel refreshed and come back maybe later that day or the next day and just start afresh. Because like I said, if you just go into the gym and just like, I don't want to be here, you know, why be there? You know, you're just going to waste your time. And, you know, even though you're going light, I've seen people get injured going light because you're not focused. Because if you're going heavy, you're focused on the movement. You're breathing, you're feeling the weight, you're psyching yourself up. I've seen so many people get injured warming up because they might just have the bar, you know, one plate. They're talking to their mate. Yeah, what are you doing the weekend? Yeah. Oh, shit, I pulled something because you're not focused. So, yeah, just always just say, listen to your body. Do what you feel is best for you. And if you feel strong, go for it. If you don't, lighten it up. If today's meant to be chest day, you don't feel like doing chest, do arms. You know, just
mentioned a whole bunch of things from coaching to Milos to workout, but you mentioned leg workout. And I actually read an article in a magazine. I don't know. I think it was the Flex magazine probably. And I'm talking about 14, 16, 15 years ago when you actually said, well, maybe it wasn't you, maybe someone else was writing it on behalf of you. But I think you said that you did leg press with 500 pounds and you did 200 reps or something like that. And the set took 15 minutes. Does it ring a bell?
And actually ended up being 1,017 reps in total.
Yeah, correct.
It started at 200. That was the bet. 200 was the bet. And I got the 200. And then he's like, I bet you can't do 300. I'm like, okay. Bet you can't do 400. And about the 500 mark, I said it was weird because your feet are up like this. I couldn't take my feet off. I could stop, but I couldn't re-rack it. So I had to keep holding the weight. But after a while, because your legs are on the angle, it's like your feet go numb because all the blood's going to your quads. Yeah. I couldn't feel my feet. You know, Joe Gold was there. There's probably about 6 other people watching. And when I finally got to 1,017, it took about 20 odd minutes. And I'm like, fuck, that's it. I'm not doing any more. But yeah, you just kept going, I bet you can't do any more. I bet you can't do any more. So it's just a stupid thing that I've never done it since. But the most I've ever did, I used to do, I think on another podcast, the Odd podcast, they talked about it. But I used to do it years ago with Tom Platz where would warm up the free plates, you know, then you do I think they call it railroads. I didn't even know it had a name, but, you know, I'd do 3 plates for 30 reps, 4 plates for 40 reps, 5 plates for 50 reps. The most I got up to was 9 plates aside for 90 reps, and then would come back down type thing. So every time you add a plate, you add more weights to it. So, you know, legs are a body part where people say, what's best? Go heavy, lower reps or higher, you know, a bit lighter weight, higher reps. And I think legs are just one of those body parts that respond to anything. You can push them into the high reps or low reps. But I find sometimes I prefer going a bit lighter in the higher reps. I just felt it more on the muscle because sure, you go heavy doing squatting or leg press, but you're more focused on, because the weight's so heavy, you're just more focused on not killing yourself and just pushing the weight. You're not really focusing on feeling the muscle. You're just like, push it up. Whereas if you go a bit lighter, you can really focus on squeezing the muscle, and it still does the same job. Your legs will be sore next day. And trust me, people go, well, you only got like 500 pound on. I can do that. Yeah, but 500 pound when you get near 100 reps, trust me, going 15 plates for 6 reps is a lot easier, because 6, you're there in no time. When you're getting near 50, 60 and your lungs are burning and you think, fuck, I've still got 40 reps to go. And then by that point too, when your quads start tiring out, your hamstrings start burning, your abductors start, every muscle in your leg to your glute just starts aching. All the smaller muscles start trying to help you push the weight. It's agony. So, yeah, but like I said, just mix it up when it comes to legs. Legs can pretty much, same with calves. When I was younger, I used to go heavy on calves, but then I found I'd go lighter and do higher reps, 20s, 30s, 40s. Even my body weight, I just stand on a step and do 100 reps with my body weight all the way down, squeezing, take like a minute break, do another 100. I do like 5 sets of 100, just my body weight. It would kill me, because I used to have friends that used no weight. They had the biggest calves and they just did no weight at all. And then I noticed when my sister used to do ballet, I'd go watch her do ballet, and they'd have male ballet dancers there. Now, these guys are always on the ball of their toes, and they had calves like this, never used any weight, but because they're always up on the ball of their toe doing this. And so I tell people, look, because I see people load up the leg press on a standing calf, they put all the weight on, they just go, they do these little pulsating movements. I'm like, and they've got calves like this. I'm like, you got 10 plates on the leg press and you got no calves and you're doing this. I'm like, you can't even leg press that. So how the fuck's your calf going to be moving it? So just lighten the weight, forget your ego and just really use your calves. And because your calves, you're on them all day, you're walking around, they can take some punishment. So trust me, if you go 50, 100 reps, it's much better, I find, than, just trying to go as heavy as you can. And you see people on that standing calf machine, it's like they're just doing shrugs like this. It's like, and then I look at their calves, I'm like, you got none.
Right, Lee, you mentioned a podcast. You mentioned Fuad, and by the way, I think Fuad's podcast is probably the most amazing on the internet right now. But I like
it, even though he doesn't like me. I like his podcast.
I think he doesn't like some of your opinion, but he definitely likes you. And the other podcast
he said that one time when he met me, Robert Kennedy said that he was going to be the next up and coming thing, and I went, oh yeah, we'll see. Maybe I did. I don't remember saying it, but maybe I did. But being me, I would have just been doing it, joking around, like, yeah, we'll see. But then I think when I went on Leo's podcast that time, I dressed up as him, where I had the beard and shit on, and I don't think he liked that. But the thing is with Fuad is he's always talking about, he likes honesty, he likes people being themselves. Well, that's me, but yet you don't like me because I'm too honest or whatever. And I watch some of it. Like I said, I like it, but it's funny because I watch some podcasts and some of the things they come out with, I'm thinking, we've been doing that for years. It's like, the stuff they come out with and these different techniques. I'm like, we're doing that fucking back in the 90s. But now, like I said, they have words for it, whereas these are called railroads and that. We just called it fucking training. We didn't have any fancy word to go with it. But now everyone's got to put a label on what it is. But I like the podcast. I like it because I like when James is on because, I like that English type of humor and stuff like that. It's like when Luke used to be on. I think English and Australian people have that sort of dry sense of humor, or we just say anything, but we don't do it in a mean way. That's just how we are. We joke around a lot, and people can take it the wrong way. But
straight. Actually, you mentioned Luke that he was my neighbor. We used to go to this gym. Yeah, he's from Bournemouth originally, and I'm from Bournemouth right now. The thing is, you mentioned Fuad, and my next favorite show after that, just being honest, is the show with Dave. And there are so many podcasts out there. Fuad has a podcast, Dennis James has a podcast. Well, basically everyone has a podcast right now. Why did you stick to Dave? Why Dave?
I've always got on good with Dave, and Dave sort of lets me just be myself. And the good thing with Dave is too, it's like, I like podcasts. Yes, I like Fuad, because I like the one with Fuad when Guy and them are on there, because like I said, there's so many bodybuilding podcasts, and it's great because, like I said, you can go to any bodybuilding podcast and hear about training and nutrition, but generally, like I said, it's all the same. It's like, Fuad sometimes says, I think we're going off track, or, if we're talking about assholes or shit, but yet people like that. People just like to sit down and listen, like they're in a conversation with you. Like if it was just us out at a restaurant having a meal talking shit, people like to listen to that because, like I said, how many times can you talk about chicken and rice or doing leg press, or how many times can you talk about bodybuilding? Like I said, yeah, they're good, but I always noticed when I used to do my videos, it's like people say to me now, Lee, put up a training video. I'm like, why? I said, if I put up a video now of me doing barbell curls, it'll be exactly the same as when I was doing barbell curls 20 years ago. I do the same thing. Yes, I'm older now, and I'd have a different T-shirt on, but that's the only difference. I said, I'm still doing the same movement. But yeah, I always found when I did the Blond Myth and other Blond Myth, or I did those bodybuilding reality series, I think you can still buy them, bodybuildersreality.com, where the camera followed me around for 2 years. It had me competing, had me at home, had me out racing the dragster. People prefer to see that. They want to see what you like at home, what you do outside the gym, because in the gym, we all do the same boring shit, lifting weights and stuff. So.
And I can tell you that bodybuilding shows, which is strictly bodybuilding, I would probably watch Chris Tuttle, Broderick Chavez, you know, the real science guys. But honestly, if I have to watch strictly bodybuilding shows talking about bodybuilding and training, that would kill me. That's just, it gets boring. I've been doing this for 22 years. It's freaking boring. But when you talk with Dave about basically everything, to be honest, and Fuad, everything but bodybuilding, and I prefer that, and probably most of the people are the same. Because just,
like I said, you can answer, like I said, we can answer questions here and there, but even if Dave asks me a bodybuilding question, I just go off random and talk about whatever. Somehow I'll turn the bodybuilding question into fucking anal sex somehow, and they go, how the fuck did that happen? It's like, you know, but it's like, and some people like it, but then you get people to comment going, oh, this dickhead again. It's like, well, you know what I'm like. I haven't changed in all these years. If you don't like me, don't watch the fucking show. It's quite easy. There's plenty of shows online that I don't watch because I don't like it, but yet people just watch and then they put negative comments up. It's like on Instagram, when people follow somebody on Instagram, whether it be a bodybuilder, and all they do is write negative stuff and bag on the person, like trolling. I'm thinking, why do you follow them? It's like, look, I see tennis on TV. If it's a big tournament, I might watch the Grand Slam, the finals. But yet, I admire what, you know, Djokovic and all those people do as great tennis players, or Tiger Woods when he was playing golf. I hate golf, but yet I respect Tiger Woods as a, you know, a top golfer, or any of those people. But I wouldn't follow Tiger Woods on Instagram, and all of a sudden when he puts up a picture, oh, you fucking suck. Your back swing sucks. You can't hit the fucking ball. I'm like, if you don't like somebody, why do you follow them and comment? It's like, get a life. It's like, I don't get that mentality where people follow people just to talk shit about them. It's like, you don't have nothing better to do with your life. Go do something else. It's like, you know, there's so many sports. It's crazy.
The thing is that you are so real, and you have always been this way, and that's why you get banned. That's why you probably lost contract and money and all that stuff. And have you ever regretted to be so open and honest all the time?
Not really, because when I was younger, I think I lied once to my mother when I was really young, and I got the belt, the jug cord. Child abuse, that's what it was. That's why I'm fucked up. Now, if I ever go to jail, I'm going to use that as my defense. My mother used to belt me when I was little, because that way I can blame mental illness. That's the get out of jail free. You know, mental illness now is the get out of jail free card when I was younger. No, but I was always told to tell the truth and be yourself. You know, I never, you know, some people, they'll act a certain way to fit in with a group. It's like, if this group is this way, I've got to act this way so they like me. Even from a young age, I just did my own thing. It's like, if you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I'm not one of those people that's going to talk a certain way, or say I'm with a group of people here and my friend Michael over here is my good friend. But when I'm with these people, they're like, oh, that Michael's a dickhead. We hate him. Then I go, yeah, he's an asshole. Like, if he's my friend, he's my friend. Just because you don't like him, I'm not going to like him. So I've always done my own thing, and there's nothing really I've regretted. Sometimes, because sometimes I'll be watching a show, I'll put it on in the thing. Like if I do Dave's show, I just sit here and I talk. Dave will ask a question, I do stuff. I just like say whatever. And then sometimes it'll come up there and I read some of the comments. I watch this show and I start laughing. My wife's like, why are you laughing? You just did that show. I said, yeah, but you don't understand. When I'm doing the show and I'm talking, I'm not really thinking about, what I'm saying. I'm just saying shit. So sometimes when I watch it myself, I go, fuck, did I say that?
It's funny, actually, you mentioned your mom, and probably a lot of people, especially from the younger generation, might not remember how did you get into bodybuilding? How did you start? But you were actually competing with your mum.
Well, I started before my mother. My grandfather, he used to be into training and stuff because he was in the army and he was always doing stuff at home. So around the age of 12, I just started doing push-ups and chin-ups at home and stuff. Then I started like probably training in gyms at 13. And like I said, I won my first 3 bodybuilding shows when I was 13 years old and 14. Yeah.
13.
At 14, I placed 3rd in the men's open. 15, I won the state titles. 16, I said I'm not going to diet. I just ate McDonald's all year and got fat. And then at 17, I won my first Mr. Australia and got 2nd in my class at the Universe. And at 17 is when my mum said to me, you know, if I get into shape, will you do the couples with me? And you know, my mum at the time, she was like me. She enjoyed eating, so my mum was a little bit heavy. And at 17, and you're looking at your mum, I was like, yeah, get in shape, I'll do it. Because I'm thinking she's never going to get in shape. But 8 months later, she got in shape, and we were the first mother and son in the world to win a national title together competing. And she competed for about another 2 years, and then she stopped. So I always figured she was the smart ones.
And not just the first, but probably the last as well. I never heard that anyone has ever done this before or after you. It's insane.
No, I haven't heard of any. No, I haven't. And then people used to say, well, now your daughter's doing it, Lee. Why don't you do a comeback and compete with your daughter? I'm like, oh, God. That's like...
Right. Okay. I actually wrote down a question about your daughter as well. But by the way, she's gorgeous. She's insanely gorgeous. And have you ever helped her competing and training, or what's your relationship with you two? Are you like a dad or a friend?
Well, right now I am. I give her like a training thing now and just a basic diet because the girl that was helping her, I thought was a good friend of hers, but little did I know, they've been friends for a long time. They'd go away together, but now my daughter said she wasn't going to compete this year and take a bit of time off, and now her supposedly friend doesn't talk to her anymore because she's not paying her. I'm like, I said, I thought you were good. So my daughter come to me, and well, the very first show, I gave her to a friend of mine, Steve, and said, Steve, can you help my daughter? Because I'm under the impression it's like anything in life. I could say to my daughter, eat this food, do this, and she'll go, fuck off, Dad, I'm not going to do it. Whereas if somebody else tells them to do the same thing, they'll do it. Because I'm her dad and close to her, she won't listen to me like she'll listen to somebody else. So I gave her to somebody else to help her, and it worked out well. I'd help her a little bit, but now I'm helping her more with the training and stuff now. But in the beginning, I'm thinking she's not going to listen to me because, you know, no one listens to their dad. It's like, I don't like that food. I don't like this. I don't like that. I'm like,
honestly, this I think this is going to be a stupid question. I should really ask her instead of you. But what do you think? What does it feel like to be a daughter of a bodybuilding icon? Have you ever asked her about this?
No, I think she gets it a lot though, because she'll tell me, or people I see on a thing, they're like, oh, your dad's a legend, you're this and that. But I think she's mentioned it before, where it's almost like how I say I'm just Lee. To her, I'm just her dad, even though people go, oh, your dad's Lee Priest. She's just like, that's just my dad. He's a fucking idiot. So it's like, we'll have to do another podcast and get her on. That way you can ask her.
Yeah. All right. You mentioned coaching, and a lot of bodybuilders from your era, you know, like Chris Cormier, Milos, they got into coaching quite heavily, and they're still involved with that part of the sport. But you're not. Have you ever coached other people? Were you ever thinking about being a coach?
No, like I said, I helped one guy that time, and he won the Worlds. He was like on a lot of gear, and I took him off that and got him ready for that. But to me, if someone's just new to the sport, you know, I know I've mentioned this before, and Ian Valliere on the podcast said that I was. Lee says you don't need coaches and blah. Look, to me, it's like nobody knows your body better than you. Yes, when you first start training, I understand that if you're new to the gym, have a coach or a trainer show you the proper exercises, you know, show you how to eat a certain way. But I'm thinking after a year or two of a coach, you should know how to train. You pretty much know how to diet. And this is what I've said. Once you're at the pro level and you've got there, and I see so many pros, and I said to Paul Dillett once, why do you have Chad help you? You know what to do. And Paul said to me, at least he was honest, he goes, Lee, I'm lazy. He goes, I don't want to think about what I have to eat. If Chad writes it out and I put it on the fridge, which he did, he'd go breakfast, Chad said I got to eat this. Whereas me, I go, what will I have? I might have oatmeal. Paul just wanted it all written out for him, and this is why I'm not coming down on him, but I'm just thinking, yes, to me, if you're a pro bodybuilder, all you really need is a good training partner, someone that's going to be there and push you, motivate you. Maybe have somebody else, because when you get ready for a show, no matter how good you look, you think you look like shit. Your mind plays games. So you need people around you to say, no, Lee, you're looking good, or no, Lee, you know what, you're looking shit. Do a bit more cardio. You need honest people around you, but that's really all you need. When it comes to your diet and food and training, you know what to do. When it comes to drugs, you know what to do. Like, say you come to me and said, Lee, I want you to get me ready for a show. I'd say, okay, I don't really, say we just met like now we have. I'd say, okay, look, here's a training program. Here's a diet, follow this, and here's some drugs. Now, you're going to go away, start training, eating. In a week or two, I'm going to say, how you feeling? You'd be like, I'm a bit full. I'll be like, okay, maybe take some carbs out and add this. Okay, how's those drugs going? Oh, I don't really feel it. I don't like this one. Okay, we'll take that. See, I'm really just experimenting with you because I don't know how you're going to react. So
of course,
I'm just giving you stuff to take and eat, and you're just going to do it and tell me how you feel until you go, okay, I'm feeling good now. Go, okay, let's stick to that. You can do that yourself, really. So that's what I mean. People can do it themselves. And I wasn't coming down on Ian, but I was just asking a question like, Ian trains Chris Bumstead, right? His brother-in-law. So right. you got Ian training Chris. Chris has won the Olympia now 3 times. Each time he's looked better. He looks great. He's won it. So all I said was, if Ian trains Chris and he wins the Olympia, why can't Ian train himself? If you can get Chris into Olympia condition, why can't you do that for yourself? And yes, I know when you do it yourself, your mind plays games. But that's what I said. I said, as long as Ian has a good training partner, he has his wife, he has Chris, he has people around him to say, Ian, you need to tighten up here. Just have that other set of eyes. But these people go to, I'm not knocking Patrick or I'm not knocking Harney, but these people go to these people who are really nothing, who have done nothing, whether it be Matt Jensen or whoever. They go to these people and they say, well, Patrick said I got to do this. Patrick said I got to do more sets on this. Patrick said, maybe I got to take 100 milligrams more of Tren. I was like, how the fuck does Patrick know? It's your body. You know your body. You know your body better than anyone. You got to mirror. Be honest with yourself. Have your training partner be honest with you. Have your wife be honest, or whoever's around you. That's all you need. But you're paying these people to do what you do yourself. So I just said, if you're training Chris, why can't you get yourself in shape? Because say I'm training you and I'm getting you ready for a show because I'm this trainer. Let's say I train you and 20 other people. But when Lee gets ready for a show myself, I go see Bob. Wouldn't you be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Lee's training me, but when he gets ready, he goes to see Bob. Lee must trust Bob more, so maybe you should go see Bob. Why the fuck am I seeing Lee? It's like, I just don't get it. Plus, too, to me, when I've helped people, it's like when I see people in the gym, it's almost like when they go to the hairdressers, they sit there and talk to the hairdresser. It's like this, they can just talk about anything. To me, that's what it seems like, because, yes, I'll take your money all day if you want, because, you can make good money. But to me, it's like if I take you to the gym, after 6 months of me showing you what to do, you should know what to do by now. So you shouldn't need to pay me. Yes, maybe down the track, if you want to come back and get some sort of refreshing type thing, or say, hey, Lee, can you give me some pointers on this? Or, hey, can you just push me through a workout? Look, say, I know what to do, but I'm going to do legs today. Can I give you $100 to come to the gym and really push me hard? Fine, but yet these people pay people day after day, week after week, just to hold their hand to go to the gym. After 6 months, you should know how to do chest. You should know how to do legs. And that's the same thing with these pros. After so many, how long have they been doing it for? You know how to diet. Yes, I've always said, let's just say 2002, when I won my San Francisco, I was in great condition. And yes. You think to yourself, okay, I'm in great condition. Next contest, I'll do the same diet. You can do the same diet, take the same drugs, but you're not going to look the same. You've always got to make little adjustments. That's why if anyone's coming up now, write down what you eat, write down whatever supplements you're taking, because next time you can pretty much use the same diet and gear or whatever, but you might just have to use, maybe next time you got to add a little bit more carbs because over the years, your metabolism, your body changes. Maybe next time you got to take a few carbs out. But it's all stuff you can do yourself. Sure, having somebody else do it for you is easier, but yet I just hate seeing people like these gurus get all the credit when it's you doing the work. I said, they're pretty much, like I said, they're just, if I went to Matt Jensen today and said, get me ready for a show, or Patrick, they're going to go, okay, Lee, what have you done before? I guess I'd say, this is what I've done. These are what drugs I've used. He's going to write me up a diet. He's going to write me up a drug thing, and I'll take it. And like I said, nobody knows your body better than you. So I just, to me, it's like I have more faith in these bodybuilders than they do themselves. It's like they're too scared to believe in themselves and believe that they can do it, which they can. Because like I said, if you go to, imagine you had Tom Platz as your training partner and you're getting ready for a show, trust me, turning up with Tom Platz and his mentality pushing you is all you need. Tom would be honest and say, hey, Lee, you need to bring your legs up more, do this, do that. Because when you hear him talk about, well, Patrick said I need to bring my back up, so he got me to do this. Ian or whoever, you know how to do that. If your training partner said to you, you need a bit more thickness on your back, you go, oh, I wonder how I do that. How do I get thickness on my back? Hold on, let me call up Patrick. Patrick, how do I make my back thicker? You know how to do it. Go do some dumbbell rows, do some barbell rows, do some deadlifts. You know how to thicken your back up. You don't need somebody to tell you how to do that. So I just wish people believe.
I think if someone makes a decision for you, it means that you don't have to. So you've got less chance. You can focus on your diet more or whatever. Yeah, but
even when I heard him say that too, it's like, I don't want to focus. I'm like, yeah, but what else do you have to do? If you're a pro bodybuilder and you're making money, that's just like me, for instance. I get up at 4 o'clock. I get up at 4 o'clock, have a cup of coffee, go to the gym, train for 2 hours. By 6:30, I'm done training. At 6:30 in the morning, what have I got to do for the rest of the day? Oh, I don't want to think about what I have to eat. That would be too much. I don't want to do that because I could burn muscle. Bodybuilders are like the laziest pricks out there. Oh, I got to post on Instagram. I haven't got time to think about it. It's like, if some bodybuilders have to work jobs, some do work a normal job, but if you don't, if you're making money from bodybuilding, once you've trained, what do you do for the rest of the day? Sit there, eat and watch TV? I can't think about this. I don't want to do that. It's like, they just get lazy. Oh, what?
Funny enough, actually, I do online coaching as well. And I always says, if you steal my client after a year, then I'm doing something really wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And after the year,
I've always said that too. I'd rather get clients where you start training, whether they be overweight or thin, you train them. And like I said, in a year, they've made changes. They can do it themselves. But like you said, other people see the changes and go, wow, look what he did. He started training that man or woman and she's lost this weight. She looks great. So you get new clients. You shouldn't have the same client 3 or 4 years later and they still look the same, which I see all the time. I'm like,
that's what I think.
You've been paying that guy for 2 years and you look exactly the same. I'm like, what? And it's like, to me, it's like, anyone that knows the basics, when I've given people diets before and like a month later, I'm like, you're still on that diet? You're following it? Yeah. I'm thinking, come on, I've been doing this long enough to know if you're just eating normal food and I put you on I wouldn't even say diet, more like if you just give them clean eating, you just change the eating to cleaner food, just by doing that, you're going to drop a few kilos just in water because you're cutting out all the salt, the preservatives and shit. So if I've given you a pretty clean diet and a month later you're still the same, I know you're fucking cheating somewhere because it's impossible unless you've got maybe, there are some people that do have thyroid problems or do find it harder to lose weight. But even still, if you're cleaned up a diet, you're doing cardio, you should have dropped a couple of kilos within a month. So I know people go, no, I'm following the diet. I'm like, no, you're not. You're cheating somewhere.
You mentioned actually Paul Dillett, and I don't want to talk about anyone else but you, but I actually had a chance to meet Paul in 2002 in Hungary, and he was insane. But because of course you know him, you knew him very well. What was wrong with his posing? What do you think?
People always ask that. They said, was he lazy? But I'm not sure. I think there's just some people where I don't think you really practice it, but it's like anything. And I think back too, it's like even when you train back, I tell people all the time, you can put your hand on your lat and pull your arm like that. Your back doesn't move. But if you like really squeeze your lat, then pull, you feel your lat. I think the same as posing it. I think just if some people can't see it, they just don't get the feel.
Don't feel it.
If you're training arms, you're like people looking at their biceps, squeezing it. If you're doing chest, you can see your chest, but back, because you can't see it, people you're almost going by feel. But yet, so many people try and use too much weight. So you're watching, it's more just arms. They're pulling with their arms, and their back's not moving. So I think it's like that mind-muscle connection where if you can't really see it moving and shit, it's just, I know we could flex it, but I don't know, Paul, I wouldn't say he was lazy, but I think, because you always see him do a real lat spread. You're like, just looks like you got to pull it out a little bit more. So it's like, same with the back double bicep.
Yeah, some people can't feel it. Right, you mentioned your diet as well. And what was always so fascinating to me when I was a kid, and of course, always, after that you seem like the guy who tried to enjoy the barking face. And we, of course, we all know that you love KFC and McDonald's. Actually, I just had McDonald's today. I really love it too. And what was your approach about dieting? So did you actually change your diet dramatically from bulking to cutting, or you just lowered the amount of food? What was your approach about that?
Well, generally, I always thought even too, like I probably could have been a bit better bodybuilder if I took my off seasons more serious. But to me, if I do a contest, 16 weeks, I'm super strict. I'm doing cardio 2-3 hours a day. I'm eating my meals. You eat at this time, 2.5 hours later, eat again. 2.5 hours, eat again. So off season, I don't like to have anything. Like if I get ready for a contest, it's like I'm in the military. Up at this time, eat at this time, train at this time. Everything's got to be done like that. So off season, I'm just like, fuck it, I'll eat when I'm hungry. Sometimes my friends would be like, how do you keep all your size? Because even in the off season, a lot of times I wouldn't even take any gear. I'd just eat so much food. That's how I put all the weight on. People are like, fuck, you must be taking a lot of gear, because I was like, 135 kilos, 285 pounds. I'm like, no, I might sit down to lunch. It might have been a loaf of bread, a whole chicken, and a litre of full cream milk. And that was lunch. Whenever I have dairy products, I just carry that's the thing. When I'd go from off season to dieting, I'll drop probably 15 pounds in 2 weeks just from water, because I was that puffy from all the dairy products. But no, my off season was, I'd go through stages where I might have a good breakfast, but then after breakfast, I might have McDonald's. But then lunch I might have steak and rice. But then an hour later, I might have some ice cream, some chocolate. Then I might have chicken breast and vegetables. But after that, I might go have McDonald's again. So sometimes I'd have clean meals, but it's in between the clean meals, I'd eat all the shit food. So pretty much when it came time to diet, I just cut out all the shit food. But then there's days where I might have McDonald's for breakfast, Chinese for lunch. I just because it's off season, like I said, there's even though I was a bodybuilder, I had other interests. Some people are just so focused on training. That's all they talk about. Diet, drugs. You hang out with them. Oh, what do you think I should eat? What do you think? It's like, shut the fuck up. It's like, that's why when I was into the bodybuilding, I also did the car racing. So the car racing sort of gave me another avenue there where I was going off competing, doing that with. But a year I won the Ironman Pro Show. I also won the championship drag racing the same year. So I'd be dieting for a contest. I'd have to take my diet food to the racetrack. So it sort of just gave me that, I didn't have to always think about bodybuilding. Otherwise you go crazy. So in the off season, I didn't want to think about what I had to eat. My friends would say, Lee, how do you keep your size? You haven't eaten for 5 hours. Because if I start doing something, I might have a big breakfast. I might go train, then I'll go see a movie. And it could be 4 or 5 hours later. I'm like, I might eat now. But, some people are like, oh, I got to eat now. I'm going to lose muscle. I'm like, you're not going to lose fucking muscle. It's like, anyway, you got a bit of body. Yeah. You got a bit of body fat. I never believed in this whole, you got this anabolic window. If you don't eat now, you're going to lose all this muscle. Yeah. I'm like, come on. It's like, you think your body's just going to start eating your muscle away and not the body fat before? It's like, you just go, rah. It's like, it's all in the head. It's all in your mind.
And that's the reason I actually asked this, because I really love the science behind, the sport, stuff like that. I really do. So if I have to name one of my biggest idol, that would be definitely Lane Norton. He's the typical science guy. Everything you just said has been backed up by science, that the anabolic window doesn't really exist. Mm-hmm. The calories over 24 hours, the macros over 24 hours are way more important than meal timing. And it almost feels like you knew this, or you felt this 30 years ago. And
well, that's the funny thing. Like I was saying, even like how people do this intermittent fasting now. To me, it was like you said, I've been doing this for 30 odd years. It's like I would eat. If I'm not hungry, I wouldn't eat. So I might go 5 hours, and then I would eat. And trust me, my workouts were just as good. You know, it's like people say, do you eat before you do cardio? Do you eat before you train? I'm like, no. It's like I ate yesterday. So if I go do legs this morning, which I'm going to do, it's like I haven't had nothing this morning. I've had a cup of coffee. Well, how do you train on empty stomach? You got no energy. It's like I ate carbs yesterday and the day before that. I've got energy. So people think I got to eat now and go train. It's like I said, it's all in your head half the time, because I had friends, like I said, come on, let's go. Hold on, I got to have a meal first. I'm like, what? You got to have a meal? Oh, yeah, I got to eat. Or I've got friends too, like Paul and I would laugh, get ready for a show, because I'd see what he took. You know, it wasn't anywhere near people. But let's just say Stanozol. We'd light up our Stanozol syringe, put it on the coffee table, and we're like, oh, I might have it. I'm like, no, I'll have it tomorrow. 3 days later, it's still sitting. You know, 3 days later, it's still sitting there. But I have friends who don't compete. They're like, oh, I got to have my shot today. I'm like, have it tomorrow. No, I got to have it today. I'm like, what? If you don't have your fucking shot or test today, you're going to get smaller? Like, it's all in their heads. They got to, I need it today because, you know, this is a fast-acting drug. And if I don't take it, you know, the drug gets slower. I'm not going to be as strong. That's all in your fucking mind. I've used, to me, if you ask me, Lee, what's a fast-acting drug? I don't know, because I've never read a steroid handbook. I've never read whatever. I've just said, even today, if I was to do stuff, I'd go back to Deca, Dianabol, Cypionate, and Sus 250. You know, back then you could get Primabol and stuff, but they're the ones I used. I did growth in 94 and 96, but because I was still young, I didn't feel anything from it, so I've never done it since. Now that I'm getting near 50, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should now, just for my joints and all that sort of shit. But yeah,
just for health,
people just get people just get so involved into the drugs that they know, well, this does this and this does that. It's like, because I have young kids say, Lee, what do you think of this drug? And then I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, you know, I don't fucking know what you're talking about, because that side has never interested me. Yes, like I said, I know at a certain level I had to use them, but to me it was more about busting my ass in the gym, training hard, eating lots of food. To me, the drugs were the last thing, but now, sadly, people put the drugs first and then everything else after that. To me, still now, it's like drugs are look, if you can't do it somewhat naturally without drugs, you're not going to become this bodybuilder with drugs, because I find that when I do seminars, people have that mentality where they say, Lee, what drugs you taking or how much? I say 400 a sip. And in their mind, they go, he's fucking lying. Because that person asking me is taking 2,000 milligrams a sip. And they're like, well, I don't look like you, so I'm taking 2,000 and I'm only this good. You're taking 4 and you look like that.
4,000.
They think that because they don't look like you, you've got to be taking more than them. Where, you know, it comes down to genetics, how hard you train. I've always told people, when people say, Lee, I want to be a pro bodybuilder, I said, look, just train, enjoy the training, do everything right, train hard, eat right, get your rest. I said, if it's going to happen, it will happen. Trust me. It's like anything. If you give a young kid a soccer ball, and if he's naturally gifted, he'll pick it up easy. He'll be like, shit, look at this young kid kicking that soccer ball around. He's going to be a champion one day. Or you see a young kid in the ring who's just got the moves naturally. You're like, fuck, look at him. He's gifted. It's the same with bodybuilding. If you start training and you eat right and train right and you have good genetics, you'll start building muscle naturally. You'll know, hey, you know what? I'm good at this. But if you train year after year and you're pounding the weights and you're eating the food and you're taking gear and you're still not building muscle, more drugs ain't going to make this muscle happen. That's why I say it seems like I've got friends that play tennis and all golf, but they do it for fun. They'll go hit the tennis ball around, but they're not coming up to me saying, oh, guess what, Lee? Next year I'm going to go to fucking Wimbledon. I'm going to be a professional tennis player. It's like they're doing it for fun because they enjoy it. And that's like, you know, but nearly every guy that goes to the fucking gym and takes steroids, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. I'm going to be, no, you're not. It's like I say to people, go to the gym, enjoy it. If you don't build tons of muscle, who cares? You might get strong. You're going to be healthy. You're going to be fit. Enjoy it. That's why I said, if it happens, it will happen, because I'm sure you've seen it. Got guys that just go into the gym, they start lifting weights. 6 months later, you're like, fuck, look at him. He's growing quick. He's just got the genetics to be a bodybuilder. You know, some will have that 1%, like, like myself or Dorian or Paul Dillett, who can go all the way. Some people, like I said, they might have genetics, but they might just get to that state level or national level. And that's as good as they're going to get, which is great. But in their mind, they keep thinking, if I take more drugs, I can get to that next step. You probably won't. But even the guys that maybe win the national title and get their pro card, sadly, they're not going to be a good pro. They probably would have been better staying amateur. You might get your pro card into the pro ranks, but you're not going to be a top pro. Because like in any sport, I said, let's take sprinting. If you went around the world, I'm sure there's tons of people who can run and sprint in like 10 seconds or less. But when, if you talk about Carl Lewis or Usain Bolt, you're talking about the next level up, where there's this like 1%. Yes, there's thousands of great sprinters here, and no matter how many steroids they take, they're not going to be Usain Bolt or anybody like that. So same with bodybuilding. You got to sort of maybe just be honest with yourself. If you've been training hard and you're doing lots of gear and you're still not a pro, but you're a good bodybuilder, be happy with that. I don't want to see people, yes, it's nice to have the dream to be pro, but I don't want to see people destroy their health. Some people give up life in general. Well, I can't go out for dinner because I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder, or I don't want to go to the movies. It's almost like they're just so focused on bodybuilding, they forget life, they forget relationships. I don't want to get a job because I've got to train. I can't get a job, so I've got to do this. So you just got to be honest with you. You got to be honest with yourself.
I was one of those guys. I got second on the Hungarian national, and then I realized that I do not have the genetics for this. So I went into coaching rather than beating myself up and trying to achieve a level I would never have.
Well, that's the good thing. At least you realise it. And I just hate seeing people that don't realise it. Look, I give them credit for having that dream. That dream's great. But like you said, I don't want to see people, like I said, just say you didn't realise it. And then for years later, you kept upping your drug dosage. You kept doing this and doing that. And like I said, someone says, do you want to go on a holiday? Let's go away for a 2-week holiday with the family. I can't. I got to train. So you're missing out on all this stuff in general, like time with the family, life. And then, like I said, 20 years goes by and now you could be on dialysis and you think, fuck, I gave up time with the family. I missed out on so much just to be focused on this bodybuilding. That's why I say, if it's going to happen, trust me, you'll know it. You'll know that you're going to be a pro bodybuilder. It's like, I'm sure there's tons of kids in America who love playing basketball, who are good at it. They might be good college level, or they might just be good in the backyard. And there's going to be guys who get that basketball and some scout's going to see him and go, my God, look at this. He's going to be the next Kobe and the next LeBron. It just happens in all walks of life. So, and the thing is, like I said, you just got to realize that within yourself and go, hey, I'm never going to get there. But, like I said, still enjoy going to the gym, still have fun, but, also have a life outside the gym.
You actually mentioned that you're not an expert in drugs, but you know a lot of guys who are, and you're friends with Chris Osito, Dave, and Chad, and you could probably call anyone. You've got their numbers. And how come that you never get more interested in that part of the sport? Because you could have asked Chris, you could have asked Dave back 20 years, and
never. I don't know. Like I said, it just never interested me, even from a young age when I got into it. You read the magazines. Back then, steroids weren't as talked about. You knew it was in the sport. So to me, it was just like,
a little bit, yeah,
it just never interested me. It's like, like you said, I could probably call up Dave now and go, look, Dave, I'm 50. Maybe I want to do the Masters again. What do you think I should be taking? Now I might, just due to being older and blood work and stuff, I might say, what's the safest for me to do now and the amounts. But back in the day, there used to be a guy called Trevor Smith from Nuclear Nutrition, really big guy. Well, he's the one that came up to me one time, and that's when I took the 800 milligrams. He goes, Lee, look how you look, and you're only using a small amount. Why don't you try this? So that's why I said, for like 4 weeks, I went on 800 milligrams a test, and I felt shit. My strength actually went down. People are like, how did your strength go down? I said, I don't know. I just felt like shit on it. My body just felt, if you get ready for a show, even if you're using a small amount, after a while, your body, I wouldn't say it feels toxic, but you just know your body's had enough. It's almost like you have another needle and you start, fuck, that needle hurt. And, your body's, it's almost like there's this inner voice saying, hey, you've had enough. It's like, I remember doing a few shows back to back where the first few shows I look good. But then when you start dieting for the next one, you're doing cardio, you might be using a bit of gear, but your body's just not responding. It's almost like your body's saying, hey, I don't care how many drugs you give me. I don't care how low you go on your calories or how much cardio you do. Your body's just not changing anymore. So it's just like, hey, have a break. So I've never, like I said, just been into that whole gear side. It's just, like I said, I love the training. I love going to the gym and that sort of thing. But I just couldn't sit around and talk about steroids. Because as I said, I saw what Paul took, and I could ask Dave. You know, that's why I don't get to him. People say, what do you take? What do you take? Who cares what people take? Because I could say, listen, 2 mil of sus is good, and I take 30. I could say to you, take 2 mil of sus and take 30 milligrams of Devo. You could go, that doesn't work for me. You could even need less, or you could need more. Everybody's different. That's why I don't get when people say, what are you taking? What's he take? Who cares what fucking people are taking? To me, that's never interests me.
Yeah, it's actually completely irrelevant what anyone else takes. Right, Lee, this might be a bit sensitive question, and I don't even really want to ask, but we have lost a lot of amazing bodybuilders from your era, and you obviously lost a lot of friends even recently, and you get yourself checked. How is your health right now?
Good. I get my heart done nearly every year, stress tests, and I had my calcium score and that done probably 6 months ago. But generally blood work I try and get done every 6 months. Even when I was competing I did, because I'd go so off season and get so heavy, eating all the shit food. I'd want to know what my cholesterol was. Well, I did my blood pressure the other morning. It was 122/79. So I think if I do it during the day, because I've had like a few coffees and I've trained, it's never too high. I think the highest lately, excuse me, it's been like 130/91. That's like after training, having a pre-workout a couple of hours later. So I try and do it first thing when I wake up. I get it beside the bed and do it then. So I try and do it at home, because even if I go to the doctor, I said to Dave, it's like that, what I call it, white coat fever. I can be as calm as anything, but when the doctor walks over and puts it on me, I'm like,
it goes up.
And I'm trying to think low blood pressure, and the more I think low blood pressure, the heart.
It's funny, my mom is the same. Actually, my mom is the same way. Are you on TRT? Actually, do you take TRT?
No. See, I've always had. That's the thing. I've always had high level of testosterone. My mother has the same. That's how I think I developed quick. My mother developed, because my mother used to take female hormones to keep her male level down. And when she started competing, she stopped taking the estrogen, like the female hormones. That's why within 8 months, she developed really quick. So when I was younger, I used to do the world titles. I used to have a drug test, like papers saying, this is my natural test level here. So the only time my test went down was when I had my neck operation. They put me on Oxycontin and codeine, all those pain medications. I felt like shit, and my test level went brrr. So I went to the endocrinologist. They did some blood. They're like, oh my God, your test level's like 2. I'm like, great, I can get prescription tests, you know. So, but at the same time, I went off the pain pills. I went back. She did it again. It was still low. The third time I went back, she's like, oh, your test level's gone back up. I said, what do you mean? She goes, well, it's over normal now. I was like, oh, so I can't get tests prescribed? She's like, no. I'm like, fuck, I should have stayed on the pain pills longer. So I've never done, even after people used to say to me, Lee, what's your, what do they call it, like PCT or whatever, after you come off a cycle? Never done that. As soon as I come off a cycle, I was done. It's like, even leading up to a show, I'd stop taking gear a week or two before the show. I'm like, well, I'm not going to lose any size. Plus, I don't want to have an injection, get all inflamed and, you know, be holding water, or you see a big lump when you get on stage. So, and once the show was over, people were like, do you take Clomid or HCG? Nothing. Once I come off, that was it. Just came off
enough,
it. So.
I don't want to be the science guy here, but what you just said has been backed up again by science, because more and more expert says that if you are planning to go back on a cycle within the next 3, 4, 5 months, that doing PCT is completely a wasted money and time. You don't really have to do that. Right, you mentioned your neck.
That's the funny thing too, because I might do, like, say, the Ironman, the San Francisco Ironman Classic, and then I would just come off, and then 5 months later I'd have to diet for the Olympia, so I'd go back on. Yeah, I never, in my whole life, I've never touched Clomid, I've never touched HCG. Like I said, when I was finished my contest cycle, which would be 12 to 16 weeks, once I come off, it was just cold turkey, no more until my next preparation. Like when I was younger, in my 20s, yes, I do my contest cycle, come off for a month or two, and then I might do 8 weeks of Deca and Dianabol for 8 weeks, and then come off that for like 2 months, and then start the contest cycle again. Yeah, but I never got into it. I get people all the time, Lee, what should I take now to turn my testicles back on? I said, well, for one, to me, that's like I said, when I used test, I never went crazy. It's like I never had my levels checked constantly, but I always thought in my mind, if I take around 400, hopefully that's enough to add to my natural level without shutting my natural level down. Whereas I think, I don't know, because like I said, I don't look into it, but I'm thinking if you're taking 1,000 milligrams or more, that's pretty much going to shut your body down from producing it. So I'm thinking if I can just take a little bit around the 400 mark, who knows? For me, that could have been too much. So maybe, but I said if I could just take 400, keep my own natural level, wouldn't be as high, but I think my natural level would still be making a little bit, and then add that to it rather than take, this much, sit my own natural goes boom and shuts off completely. So I'm hoping, like I said, I'm not scientific in it, but I'm hoping the small amounts I use never completely shut my own natural totally off.
Yeah, you just mentioned your neck injury. I have a herniated disc at the L4, L5, so I actually know, unfortunately, a little bit more about, spinal injury. But you mentioned the car racing as well a few minutes ago, and I know these two are linked together. So how is your neck now, and how the hell did you get into car racing? So it's two questions.
I got into car racing just from fiends that were doing it, and fiends that I just knew were doing it. So they had cars, and I started racing their cars. And then I used to race. I navigated a few times with John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard. A couple of road races I navigated for him. And I navigated in other cars. You sit there as the navigator and tell him, turn coming up, this and that. So I won a couple of races doing that. And then I got into the circle track and road racing. And then I was at an Olympia, and Rod Fuller, he raced the Top Fuel dragsters. And he goes, Lee, do you want to come watch? I said, sure. So I went to watch. I enjoyed it. So I went and got my license, won a few races straight off the bat. And then the guy who was an instructor had a few cars sponsored by Lucas Oil. He goes, Lee, do you want to come race some of my cars? So the first year I got third in the championship and got Rookie of the Year. And then 2006, I said, I'm going to do as many races as I can because, the more races you do, you get points. So 2006, I won a lot of races and got the points up there. That 2006, I won the championship. And, yeah, and with my neck too, it happened after I moved back to Australia. A woman just crashed into me, and L6 and L7 just crushed my L7 nerve, which controls the tricep here, a bit of the chest and back. So I got a bit of atrophy because no matter what I did, it's almost like frustrating. I was like, I've never had a stroke, but that's what it felt like because I could be doing tricep push down this way, and my mind's thinking push it, but it just wouldn't move. I'm like, because I did that nerve. So I had one operation on the back of my neck, which didn't really help. And then last November, they went in through the front of my throat here. I got a little bit more movement. It's like, I don't know. That's why I'm thinking maybe now, if I try a bit of growth, maybe that might help that somehow. But yeah, it's still frustrating because now this shoulder kills me because they just settled the court case not long ago, but for 6 years, because this side's been messed up, this side's had to compensate. And now this side's like, oh, fuck, right. Now I think I've injured this side from that side. So it's just,
I feel you.
But like I said, I still go to the gym. People say, oh, I see you training. It's like, well, I go to the gym more for mental. I'll go there, do what I can. Some days I might only be curling the 15 kilos, but if I do it properly, I still get a good pump. The odd occasion I might pick up the 25 kilo and go, well, it feels good today. Next day I'm like, oh, fuck, it's hurting. So I just go by how my body feels. As long as I go to the gym and do something, just keep the blood moving, do whatever, it makes me feel. Plus, I've been getting into the boxing lately too. So I've just been doing that for cardio and stuff just because, for 30 plus years, I've been doing treadmill, walking, this and that. Gets a bit fucking boring. So I'm like, well, now hitting the bag at home or I go sparring, you get hit in the head. It's something different.
So for people who don't really know anything about car racing and watching all those old videos about you driving, all these beautiful supercars you had back in the days. Well, you still have a beautiful car. How big the jump is from going from like a Dodge Viper or whatever to the track racing? How crazy is
different? Totally different. Because even like when I used to do, like a road course racing, you're turning here or you're doing the circle track, which people go, oh, that's boring. Like, trust me, when you're in the car going around, it's not boring. You've got to be so focused and shit. But yeah, so even going from that to drag racing where it's just a straight line, you might be doing, what, 300 plus kilometers. You know, you got 5 Gs when you take off the G forces and -5 when you pull the parachute. It's like, ugh! Like that. So it's like, but even then it's like, I went to the drag because, you know, we've all hopped in our car on the road and put our foot down and, but I'm thinking, fuck, driving in a straight line, that's going to be fucking easy. But when you actually get in and do it, because the G forces and you're doing those speeds, you know, you got that funny butterfly handle. You know, to me, it's like, you know, when a car takes off and you're going from 0 to 100 in 0.8 of a second, I mean, like, it's like you've been shot out of a cannon. All you want to do is grip up. But the thing is, you can't grip too hard, because if you grip too hard and you just did that at that speed, you do that, you're going into the wall. So you got to learn to have a firm grip. And it's like anything, say, just going down that straight line, there could be 20 steps you have to do, whether it be the fuel switches, this, that, whatever. There's 20 things you have to do. When I first go for my license, I'm thinking, fuck, I got to do this, I got to do that. It's like you're trying to do 20 steps all at once. But it's true what they say, the more you do it, it just becomes second nature. It's almost like, oh yeah, that. And even though you might do the quarter mile in 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds, it seems really slow. You can, like, everything does slow down. But in the first, when you're first starting, it's like, oh, this. I remember doing circle track, driving into circles for a while. You'd be going into a turn so hard and you're braking, and then you're accelerating. I remember the first couple of times I was holding the wheel like this. After the 4th lap, I'm like, fuck, my hands are numb. I'm trying to release the grip and get blood into my fingers because, you know, it's just one of those things. As you relax and do it more, you get more used to it. But in the beginning, it was like my forearms would be pumped. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to go. As I get down the straightaway, I'm like, here comes the corner.
My best friend actually has a 67 Ford Mustang, so it's for him. I have to ask you, what car do you drive right now?
Mustang, Shelby Mustang.
Which year?
I'm getting the 2020, a new one.
Opa.
I'm actually getting the new Whipple supercharger put on it next week, hopefully, because, you know, you get the Roush ones or the Harrod supercharger, but now Whipple just made that 3-litre one, so it's a bigger supercharger, and because it's bigger, it's now less strain on the motor, but gives it more horsepower. So I'm not going too crazy, but once I put that on and he does a couple more things, I should have about 890 horsepower at the rear wheel. So that's good enough for an everyday driver. Get to the gym quick.
It sounds quite impressive. How many tickets did you get? Did you ever get?
Don't jinx me, but touch wood. My whole life, I've never been pulled over for a speeding ticket.
Really? Wow.
The thing is, too, it's like I always drive sensible. Yes,
knowing the cars you used to drive.
Trust me, I have sped a lot, and now living in America, I drive from Texas to California, and you got those open roads in the Corvette. I used to hammer it, but I just never got caught. Touch wood. So, but the thing is, still, I'd only ever drive fast if no one's around, because yes, I think too, when you do the racing, you get all that adrenaline out on the track. So when I'm in a car, you become more wary. Look at that idiot. Look at him. Because yes, I'm a good driver, but yet in traffic, I know I can handle a car. But if I'm driving down the road, that car there could move over like this. You know, on a racetrack, everybody knows what we're doing. No one's going to hit the brakes. No one's going to pull over. But yet, if you're just going to the grocery store, yes, I can handle my car, but this person could just pull out. This one could brake. You don't know what other people around you are doing. So even if you're a good driver and you can handle your car, it's almost like you've got to drive for everybody else. You've got to be thinking about what these people are doing. It's not just you anymore. So that's why if I'm on the road, I don't drive crazy on the road or go fast when other people are around, because, like I said, you can't tell. Okay, you can see that car, but did they see you? You know, some people don't check their mirrors. You know, I used to like motorbikes, but now so many people just don't even check their mirror. They move over, hit a motorbike on the thing and kill them. Or especially if you're doing bodybuilding and you're on a motorbike, you can love it, but then you come off a motorbike and fuck your arm, your leg up, there's your career gone. So,
what was actually the fastest car you ever owned?
Well, probably one of my Mustangs, because it was supercharged. The Dodge Viper was quick, but the early Vipers were shit at handling. In a straight line, they were great. But I had a Dodge Viper truck. I had actually back in the day, I had the Lotus Esprit, the V8 one, because I loved James Bond when James Bond had the white Lotus that went underwater. So that car handled. But I'd probably say out of all the sports cars and fast cars I've had, my favourite would probably be the H1 military Hummer, just because it was quick enough, but yet you could go anywhere. I could go on the freeway. I could go through water. You know, I'd go through California where the roads were flooded. Cars were stopped. I just go barreling through. The wave comes over the car. I'm like, fuck, I can't see where I'm going. Or we'd go out to Vegas, go off the freeway, push a button, the tires go into the desert. Like, that car could go anywhere. So I think overall car, the H1 military Hummer was probably my favorite car, just because it looks like a tank. It looks tough and you could just do anything in it. It's like, it looks indestructible. Whereas, you know, the sports cars are fun and that. But, you know, after a while, I'd go through stages where I'd like a sports car. Then I'm like, you know what? I want a truck now, so I might get a Ford Lightning race truck. But then once I've had the truck, I want to go back to a car again. So it's like, you know, but, you know, so to me, I've never been, like I said, I've never been a Dodge man or a Chevy. I just, if I like a car, like, you know, some people are like, it's got to be Ford, it's got to be this. It's like, hey, whatever's good, it's got horsepower and it's good handling. I've never been, like I said, I've had, like, a year or so ago, I had a Maserati. I loved the Maserati. It was a great car. So, you know, I just like any type of car. I've had Mercedes, BMW. So to me, it's like, you know, I don't have them for a year. I'm like, I do it up. I say, I love this car. As soon as I do it up, it's like this one now. My wife's going on about, yeah. I said, you like it? She goes, yeah, but I know once you supercharge it again and do this, you go 6 months later, you'll get rid of it. I'm like, no, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep this one.
Right. It's a bit different topic. Probably because of your personality, as far as I know, I might be wrong, but everyone seems to like you. You are a really well-respected, well-loved guy, except one person. And you know who's that. I just bingo. I just have to bring his name up. And when did this start between you and
I don't even know where that started. I don't even know how it started, because, like, I always respected Shawn as a bodybuilder. I've always said he was a great bodybuilder. I never had a problem with him. We used to do photo shoots together. Then out of the blue one time, he just started talking shit about me, because I'm the type of person, I don't care. It's like, I don't talk about bodybuilding. I barely follow bodybuilding unless I watch the podcast, but I never say shit about anyone. But then people go, Lee, did you see what Shawn said about you? I'm like, no. So they send me the link. I watch it. So when I go on Dave's show, Dave will be like, you see what Shawn said? So I reply, but I've never once started anything first. I just reply to what they say. They're like, people are like, Lee, why are you being bad to Shawn? I'm like, he started it. I'm just giving my, and when I come back with a comment too, I'm not being serious. I couldn't give a shit what Shawn says or does. So I don't know how the whole feud thing started, but he just kept talking about, then he'd be somewhere and somebody would mention my name, then he'd go off, oh, Lee this, Lee that. Lee's living on the streets. He's a drug user. I'm like, what the fuck's he on about? Okay, now I'll have my go back at him. So, like I said, as a bodybuilder, he was a great bodybuilder. As a person, you know, when so many people say you're bad like that, I know people, yes, some like me, but hate me because, I don't know, sometimes people probably think, you know, like I said, I can do different, you've seen me on different podcasts. On Dave, I could be a certain way because I'm just an idiot. Like now or other podcasts, I can sit there and be normal and talk normal, or I can be whatever. But some people go, oh, that leads this and that. But as I always said, look, to me, I think we judge people before we know them. We're all guilty of it, but I'm always like, get to know me, meet me in person. Then if you hate me, that's fine. But I don't, when people go, I don't like him. Why don't you like him? I just saw him on there and the way he, like I said, it's like in America. I used to love Howard Stern on the radio. He's like totally off the cuff disc jockey, but yet on there he would be asking rude questions. He has a certain persona on the radio show, but in life he's shy, he's quiet type person. He's totally different. So, you know, sometimes people see the way you are on different things. That's how they judge you. Well, he said this once, but he was only joking. No, he wasn't. He means it. And I've been called racist. I've been called this. I've been called that. I'm like, hey, it's like, just so, you know, it's like I said, if I was racist, trust me, I'm the type of person, if I was racist, I'd say, hey, I'm a racist. I wouldn't give a shit. I'm that type of person where I'm that honest. If I was a racist person, I'd say, yes, I'm a racist person. I'd never harm anybody, but I think white people are better. I'd be upfront about it.
Lee, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. I wrote it down, racist, because honestly, you've been called racist. And I know you offend people and you get banned and you get cancelled from YouTube and Instagram and everything. But it's funny because probably no one else is more PC than you, because I know you're open about your parents and, you know, your father, you know, your father had a gay relationship, and you used to have freaking pink hair and you've got tattoos and all that stuff. And you were really good friends.
It's like I said, too,
you used to live with black guys together. No one's really more PC than you. And still you've been called.
That's the thing too, when I do that, like I said, I helped Melvin Anthony Paul Dillett come to live with me. I said, and then as soon as I say that, oh, he's going to say he has black friends. I'm like, well,
what else you say? Yeah.
Well, what more is there? Let's just say you're calling me a racist, and I say, yes, I have black friends. What more is there that I can do to prove that I'm not a racist? Because if I was a true racist, I wouldn't have one black friend. I wouldn't be helping black people. I wouldn't be doing anything like that. I said I wouldn't have been married to a South African who was a Muslim as well, because they say I hate Muslims. I'm like, she was black and she was a Muslim, so that blows that theory out the water. So like I said, I think people get it, say it because I'm one of those people where if you see Jim Jeffries or some comedians, they just joke about anything, and that's all it is. It's a joke. I say things, whatever. It's like you could say, I've said it before, fucking Asian people are shit drivers. Oh, look, he's racist. He said Asian people can't drive. Well, it's true, because most stereotypical Asian people are fucking shit drivers, or we say women are shit drivers. It's like, it's just a stereotype. It doesn't mean you're fucking racist. It's like you're just having fun. But, today with cancel culture and the woke crowd, it's like, well, you can't say that. Why not? I said, have a fucking laugh. Look, the world is such a crazy place, and it's so serious with all the misery that goes on in the world. If we can't laugh at each other and make fun of each other, look, there's a big difference between having a joke and having a laugh with your mates, or going back and forth or telling a joke, to being a complete racist. You can tell jokes about different races, or, look at bodybuilders. We get stereotyped, or steroids, muscle head, rah, rah, rah. It's like, I laugh at shit like that when people make jokes about it. Or if you can make jokes about someone being fat or skinny. They're just jokes. There's a big difference between just having a fun or actually abusing someone. You got to distinguish the two between that sort of thing. It's just people just take life too serious now. There just seems to be groups out there, no matter what happens. If a movie comes out, well, that movie was this, it's that. It's just a fucking movie. Go watch the movie, enjoy it. There's no fucking hidden message in the movie. Just turn your brain off and watch the action. That's it. Just fucking enjoy it. The same in life. Just don't take everything so serious. It's like, if I say something online, all the abuse you get, now people go, well, it's just my opinion. I said, why? Because it's online, you can abuse people? I said, let's just say we're in a restaurant and we're sitting at this table, and the table beside us, you can hear them chatting, blah, 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 and you think, hey, listen to what they're talking about. What a load of shit. You don't get up and walk over and go, listen, dickhead, that's a fucking load of shit what you're saying. You don't do it in person. Okay, we have an opinion, but of course you can hear them talking. You don't walk over and say something to them in person, but online, well, fucking, it's like everyone just goes nuts online.
Honestly, that's insane. You just mentioned Jim Jeffrey. I just wrote it down. Ask about Jim Jeffrey, because he is my absolute #1 favorite comedian. I think he's
and like
insane.
I said, and he makes jokes about race. He makes jokes about race.
About everything.
And like I said, and all these subjects, are fucking terrible subjects, rape and that, but yet in the context you put it in a joke, that's all it is, a joke. Yes, we know it's terrible, or this, or he'll make jokes about babies dying.
Babies dying.
Jokes. It's not like, it's not like singling somebody out. It's like, even if I say something offensive, guess what? If I talked about a baby dying in a joking way and people laugh, but you've had a baby that died, fuck you. It's like, I'm not talking about you. Don't take it personal. Yes, that is upsetting to you, but hey, I'm not talking about you. I don't even fucking know you. So it's like, I'll make jokes about cancer. People are like, oh, Lou, that's not funny. Look, I've had family members die of cancer. I've seen them pass away. It's fucking painful to see them die. It's painful what they go through, but yet I make light of it, and people laugh. Some don't. Some, like I said, some take it personal. Well, you shouldn't say that, because I said, look, like I said, life's terrible. If we can't just make fun of things, like if I was dying of cancer, I'd be the first one to make fun of myself. We used to have a guy here called Steady Eddie. He had like multiple sclerosis. He was like a bit retarded. He'd be like this, but he was a comedian, and he would make jokes about himself all the time, how he's like this, and he'd be shaking, and people think he's drunk all the time, but yet people would say, you can't do that. You can't make jokes. He's like, why not? He goes, I am mentally retarded. I have problems. I'm sort of like this. When he walks, he's got a limp, but he makes fun of it. It's like, if he can't make fun of himself, who the fuck can? It's like, how do you to tell him? It's like, there always seems to be groups that come out. It's like, say, here in Australia, Christmas time, with Christmas music, they say, we can't play Christmas music. That's going to upset the Muslims and blah, blah, blah. So then people go, fuck the Muslims, we hate them. But I got Muslim friends, and I ask them, does the Christmas music affect you? Do you care? They're like, we don't care. But yet there's this little group of fucking white people who go, well, we should stick up for the Muslims because they don't like it. I'm like, have you even asked them? But by you saying we're not going to play this music because it upsets the Muslims, everybody thinks the Muslims don't want it. So fucking we hate them. It's like in anything, even in America, some of these people that are going on about Black Lives Matter and racism, they're like white liberals. They don't, it's like they're, and the black people go, they don't even understand us. They're acting like we can't defend themselves. Like, it's just these little stupid groups that pop up that, you know nothing in life. So it's just crazy.
I've got black friends that they don't give a shit about all this stuff. And, you know, you just offended everyone in the world in the past 5 minutes. So shit, might be my channel get cancelled because of that or whatever. Right, Lee, I know I promised you only 1 hour and we way beyond that.
I could keep talking forever, but it's 7:24. I got to meet a friend at the gym at 7:30. Otherwise, I'd keep talking. So
it's all right, Lee. I respect your time, and although I've got a shit ton of questions, but I just want to ask you. Well, actually,
if you want, look, I said I'm happy to. Like I said, even if you got time tomorrow, I can come back on and finish up tomorrow if you want. So,
right, Lee. First of all, thank you very much for that. 2 more questions. One will be really quick. Have you ever seen Jim Jeffrey on stage?
No, I'd like to, but I haven't. And I like Nick DiPaolo. He's another good comedian I like. I follow him on YouTube and at thecomicsgym.com. Nick DiPaolo, he's like Jim Jeffries, but American version. And plus, if you go on, he has a show on. If you follow Nick DiPaolo on Instagram, he has a show and he just talks about politics, but he uses the cunt word perfectly and all that sort of stuff. He's funny as anything. So if you like Jim Jeffries, you'll like Nick. So.
Yeah, he's my number one. Right, last question. That would be kind of a dumb question, but I just have to ask you. I've seen all these old Muscle Tech ads that, you know, I'm sure you already know what I'm going to ask. When you were in one picture, you were really out of shape, kind of fat. And then the next one, you were in contest shape. And of course, I know that you took all those.
Hydroxycut.
Yeah, hydroxycuts, fat burners, but.
Never used it. Never used it.
Have you actually done that transformation in that given time? What was in the magazines?
Well, I did. Yeah, I did. Well, from those pictures, from when that first picture was taken into Kentucky to when I got in shape, that was exactly 12 weeks. I lost 75 pounds.
So you really done it?
Yeah, that was 12 weeks. Yeah, but the thing was, I do it every year, and that's the thing they're saying. I used hydroxycut. I hated Muscle Tech. We can talk about that tomorrow if you want. Where I had a 3-year contract with Muscle Tech, but with 8 months I got out. But so if you want to ask me about that tomorrow, we can. But no, I always did like 2 to 3 hours of cardio a day. That's what I mean. When I go from junk food to clean food, my body changes really quick. That's why I find that if you try and eat clean too much, or you're on drugs all the time, and then you go to contest time for off season, your body doesn't respond. That's like me. From my contest to off season was so extreme. You know, contest, I'm eating clean, taking gear. Off season, I'm eating tons of shit food, no gear. So when it came time to get ready for a show, when I go back to clean and drugs, my body responded so well because you're not just, you know, eat the same food day after day, taking drugs all the time. If you go from one to the other, I just find my body responded more, you know. And
honestly, Lee, first of all, this was probably the most amazing 1.5 hours I ever had. And
until you get Jay Cutler on, then you'll say, Jay, this is the best one.
No. First of all, I probably would, but no, honestly.
I'll be watching. If I see Jay Cutler come
I know.
What the fuck did he say to Jay?
I'm going to ban you. No, it's honestly, it was amazing. And I always admired your physique. And yes, you are a legend, but honestly, the way you make me feel so relaxed and almost like just have a friendly conversation. And now I know why you are a bodybuilding legend.
That's why I like it. It's like I said, we've just met now, but even just talking to you, it seems like I've known you for a long time. That's how I like try to be. It's like, I don't like when people try and be like, okay, I'm the star. You just ask me these questions and I'm going to answer them. But to me, it's like I said, we just met now. I said, we've only talked, written back and forth on Instagram, but talking to you now, it seems like I've talked to you before many times. So it's just.
And I wasn't even sure that I was actually talking to you on the Instagram. So I was actually prepared for talking someone on a fake account. But honestly, the way you make me feel so relaxed, and it was just amazing. So I do understand now.
I was very upset you didn't reply to my dick pic.
I did, but you didn't see that. Right, Lee, thank you very much. I know we are way beyond 1 hour, but honestly, this was amazing, and thanks for everyone.
And like I said, if you want me to answer those questions, just let me know. I can come back on tomorrow. So actually, tomorrow I got to go to Sydney. That reminds me. Shit, I almost forgot. I got to go to Sydney and film. I got to go to Sydney and film a TV show in the morning, like a comedy show called Housos, playing a guy in jail who's calling my girlfriend, and there's a guy at my girlfriend's house when I call up. So.
Can you actually travel that far? How far you are from Sydney?
2.5 hours. Yeah, we're out of lockdown now, so we're not in prison anymore.
Touch wood, you don't know. It's tomorrow. You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
A new variant could come out at lunchtime today.
Right, don't get into that. Don't get into that. Right, Lee.
Save that for part 2.
Yes. Save that for the next one. Right, Lee. Honestly, thank you so much. And of course, I'm going to edit this out now, so this is out of the show. And honestly, this was amazing. I can't even believe that I was talking to you. And I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna edit the video. I'm gonna put a few pictures of yours into the video, and I think I'm gonna upload it within 2 days or 3 or whatever. But
okay, just send me the link. I think my ban on Facebook finishes in 4 days, so when my ban's up, I can put the link on Facebook.
You're talking about, oh God, on Facebook as well. There.
Yeah, I got banned on there for 30 days.
30 days. What did you say?
Here we had some protesters sitting on the train line, stopping the coal trucks. So I just said, run them over. That's instigating violence. Like, well, if you're dumb enough to sit on the train track, you deserve to get fucking run
really over. Yeah, true.
Right. I can't say anything, no matter what I say. I think I'm on the hit list.
Definitely.
Like I said, if you have other questions.